vision, which is like 20 plus years more advanced than anything you would think now.
Right, so the American military spends a lot of money on the military, and it spends a lot of money that taxpayers have no knowledge of where that money goes. And sure, if you want to really put surveillance on a population, they're always glued to their devices, right? Like how often, like how many of you have more than 7 hours screen time every day? Right?
No.
How many of you have more than like 5 hours? Okay, so 5, maybe up to 9 hours.
How do you do that?
It pays a lot to any company that's developing technology around phones and tracking your behavior, right? Oh, I was talking about this. I don't know with which group of kids, but social media is designed to keep your attention. Like how many of you find that like as soon as you open your app, next thing you know 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes goes by and you're still on your app? Well, you're lying to everyone here. You said yes. You get bored. No way you get bored. That means you're not interacting with the algorithm properly.
Yeah, then it just stops.
Yeah.
Good. That means nature is healing. Okay. Go outside, touch some grass, smile at the sun, right? Okay. But the services benefit by you giving your attention to them, right? That's like your most expensive resource that you have. If you're just on your device, on that app, using it, generating more revenue for it, okay? And, you know, again, I don't know if I talked to you kids about it or my previous class, but one of my mentors, Jonathan Pajot, talks about that, whose painting is actually hanging on the wall there, or a copy of it, the one below. This one right here, which is a biblical story there, is depicting Noah's flood. But he talks about how, you know, like, you got to be very careful where you put your attention and what is drawing your attention. Right? And again, whatever you're focusing on and attending to is going to continue to grow and expand in your life. Right? So for people who are constantly on their device, constantly on an app, you know, they're going to find soon after that they're just consumed by that. Right? Because I had kids last year who would show me that they had 15, 16 hours of screen time in a day. You know, averaging like 12 hours screen time every day. Right? That was before we put the cell phone policy in place. Right? Because some kids truly just sit there and you're on your phone. Right? At lunchtime, anytime you get free time. Right? You kids do it still. As soon as I tell you that, hey, you can grab your phones, you stop talking to one another, mostly. And you attend to your device, right? You just do this, you stare. So it pays for any company that can develop you know, technology that can track your eyes, that can track what you're looking at, where you pause, and to be able to integrate that with systems that already exist.
That painting, is he the guy that made the cover art for the religion textbooks?
No, God, no. No, that's, well, I'm not going to speak on that since I'm recording. No, he's a French-Canadian icon artist, and he's Orthodox Christian himself, but he takes the stories, he takes some of the characters from this theology and then makes creations from that. But feel free to look at that later when you have time. Look closely. There's a lot of detail and it's very beautiful. I think we already discussed this, but if you only see information you like or agree with, what happens? Sure, you like it, right? So that point we were talking about, if your algorithm, your whatever, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you're using, I use YouTube a lot. If it just keeps sending you stuff that you like and want to watch, what happens? Well, it consumes your attention, right? And then maybe you're not attending to things that are more important, like, you know, your friendships, relationships, to your health, right? How many of you fall asleep while using like a device? I do that plenty. Or you have your phone or a computer, right? You ever find that it interrupts your sleep?
No.
Yeah.
Like I can't like
I can't sleep at
even
night.
like even with my phone on like the lowest brightness, I can't fall asleep with it. Like it's just too bright.
Right? So it disrupts a natural biological process. Your eyes aren't designed to have light in them as you're trying to fall asleep. The biological process for sleep happens in darkness, right? You know, how many of you like even sleep with a night light? Like I can't sleep with any light. I actually bought like a face mask to cover my face so I don't see any light.
My clock is like brighter than the sun, so I have to actually like flip it upside down
Okay.
so I can sleep.
I got a alarm clock that has like 6 settings for brightness, so as it gets later and later, it dims down. It's actually very useful.
Mine, it has those settings, but either way, it like lights up the entire room, so it's not
Right? So even if an alarm clock can be that disruptive, just imagine how bright your screens are. For anyone who uses their phone or laptop at night, like when your lights are off, just as an experiment, turn it around, face it away from you, and see how much of the room gets lit
I
up.
use it as a flashlight sometimes.
Literally, right? Just the
Oh.
screen.
Don't bother using
Like
the flashlight.
I'll like even if I like turn off my console and like it's just like it's turning off, like there's nothing on the screen, it's just a black screen.
Yeah.
It still lights up most of the room.
Yeah, that's kind of more modern technology still does that.
Yeah.
You're talking about when the TV screen is off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no,
Oh,
like
maybe-
when my
Right before it
like
turns
I have
off.
like on my monitor, like on my
Okay.
when my console's connected up, and I turn it off, like it still has a black screen, and then it like powers off, but like when it has a black screen, it still lights up most.
Oh
of
yeah,
the
because it's still emitting light.
Yeah.
There's still like power and electricity going through it, but as soon as that cuts off, hopefully
Yeah.
it's dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right, but then you have those little red lights or blue lights or
Yeah, I
green
have blue
lights,
light.
and even those small lights, they're so powerful.
Yes.
I know.
Right, and
So
they're
I feel
very,
like I have to
They
move
light
my
up
chair
the
to block
room.
it.
they disrupt our biological patterns, right? They're probably just as bad as ours. He's got his hand up back there. Let's,
I have a
girls. Okay, one of you move up there. I'll let you pick out of you 3. You can do that while he responds.
I have a couple speakers under my bunk bed, and they're not super big, but they're multicolor speakers.
Yeah.
And if I look down and I look at my shelf, I can see the colors like change.
Yeah.
I have to turn them on.
Right? So if any of that light is filtering out from under your bed, let's go, girls. Either you pick or I pick. I'm taking you. You're in the middle. You can move up. Yes, go ahead. Okay. So our devices impact us in more ways than just the information we interact with.
I don't understand. Like my friends, they sleep with their LED lights on at night. I don't understand.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
I can't.
That's very
no matter
strange to
how
me
much
as
they
well.
dim it, they either have like blue or purple or red. I'm like, I don't understand.
It's so.
Yeah.
It's like daytime. And I start to remember.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
What's up?
I've fallen asleep. I've fallen asleep with the LEDs on, and I wake up, and it just disrupts my pattern.
Even if you're sleeping with that light on, so let's say you're on your device, the light is going to get through your eyelids, and it's not going to allow you to actually get into a proper mode of sleep.
Yeah, you're not fully asleep.
No. And then for me, like if I'm watching something, like if I'm watching Netflix or something on YouTube, and a loud sound occurs, then it wakes you up as well, and it double disrupts your sleep, right? Anyways, getting back to algorithms and whatnot. So if, like we already talked about echo chambers, I guess another word is filter bubbles, okay? But it's not necessarily healthy to just be exposed to ideas that you agree with, that validate your beliefs, that continue to promote your ideas, as difficult as it is, right? Because interacting with information, like how many of you enjoy being wrong? Sometimes it's useful. It's useful as a learning mechanism, right? Nobody enjoys being wrong. And the reason for that is because maybe we take it as an attack on our identity personally, right? And most people don't like being attacked personally. But, you know, one thing I've learned or kind of understood from some of my mentors, like the benefit of letting your ideas die is that you can then change and transform, right? Like we're not caterpillars, right? We can't go into a cocoon, melt ourselves, and turn into a butterfly. But what you could do is say, hey, I used to have bad ideas. I used to interact with the world in a kind of stupid, silly way. But I learned new things that were difficult to learn. and sometimes I felt dumb and silly. But because I learned those new things, I can be something more than I was, right? And so that's kind of why you don't want to be in an echo chamber, right? You don't want to just look for sources that validate what you think because it makes you feel good, right? You want to interact with new information. At more of a classroom or school or society level, if you just have the same information, you get stagnant. You can't really grow, right? That's kind of the interesting thing I'm learning about this job. It's my third full year at one school. The culture at the school is dramatically different this year than it was last year, right? We have a lot more grade 9s and 10s, and every year kids, we stray further and further from God, which is very sad. But the group of grade 12s last year, there's a lot of characters in that group. The 12s this year are very different. The 11s are interesting, and the 9s, those 9s, I don't know if you've met them, but they're very strange. Very strange, right? They're really weird people. The 10s are all right.
Shannon.
We don't name names, but okay.
Not a person.
So every year we have a batch of kids that goes on to do whatever they want with their life. This school is kind of unique in that a bunch of you will go to the comp down the road, and every year there's a new batch of kids, right? So the culture is always shifting. How you handle problems is always shifting,
Oh,
right?
that new culture.
Like you kids are very different than the kids who were